Aloha! I'm Lahaina Lee, and this is your Maui Real Estate Advisor Market Report, May edition 2025. Hey, and as we're just getting started here, I want to show you. I'm sporting my Cool Cats Cafe shirt, and I've got this on because we got to visit the sister ship, the new Captain Jack's up in Kahana. It was really fun, same menu, a lot of the same people. I even met a waiter there who I used to know down at Lahaina Coolers. So it was really a lot of fun. Nice to be back home with the old crew. All right, on with the report. Today, we're diving into some deep water, and yeah, the temperature, it's complicated. We've got an update on Lahaina's rebuilding efforts, the latest drama with the short-term rental ban, what's going on with tourism, and of course, the real estate numbers, sales, prices, inventory, the works. And hey, if you're a condo seller, maybe a Mai Tai is in order. Let's get to it. Hey, for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see a MauiRecovers.org rebuilding dashboard. If you're just listening, imagine a graphic that looks like progress, very slow, but very steady progress. Okay, this is where we are. There are 316 permits in process, pretty evenly split between residential and commercial. 397 permits have been issued, but only 16 of those are commercial. 255 properties are under construction, and that was a drum roll. More than a year and a half after the Lahaina and Kula fires, 17 have actually been completed. Yeah, that's 17, not 170, just 17. But hey, that's 17 more families back home in sweet, sweet Lahaina town. And now, here is some genuinely good news featuring the mayor. Mayor Bissen recently announced a deferred payment loan program to help middle-income homeowners who don't qualify for federal disaster funds. The collaboration is between the Hawaii Community Foundation, Maui United Way, and Hawaii Community Lending. It's a real step in the right direction. Details are at MauiRecovers.org. We love us some good news. Unfortunately, Front Street is still stuck in a bureaucratic version of limbo. A member of the Front Street Recovery Organization told me they met with county officials last week who basically said nothing. No decisions, no plans. We have dozens of business owners anxious to begin building and hoping for some straight answers. But what they're getting is something more like, 50 shades of no. Next up, the ongoing saga of Maui County Bill 9. Number 9. This bill would revoke the legal right of over 7,000 condo owners to operate short-term vacation rentals, rights currently protected by law. And yes, there are people who recently bought those condos based on that existing law. And while there are a few highly vocal advocates who want to shut them all down, licensed, unlicensed, legally operating or not, most people aren't on board. A recent Maui News poll showed that 70% of those surveyed opposed the bill. Another poll conducted by the Maui Vacation Rental Association, yeah, obviously they get a dog in the fight, but still, found that 73% of people supported legal rentals and want illegal rentals banned. Isn't that a definition of illegal that they're already banned? Top economists like Paul Brubaker and the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization, UHERO, have echoed those concerns, warning that this bill could have devastating effects not only on Maui's economy, but also on the broader economy throughout the Hawaiian Islands. Meetings for concerned citizens are being held this week. The bill is scheduled to be heard on May 27th, followed by 2 days of scheduled hearings. For a lot of small businesses, this feels less like housing and economic policy and a lot more like kicking the crutches out from under people who still are just trying to limp along. Stay tuned for updates. Now, let's talk about the engine that keeps this place running: tourism. In March, 20 months after the devastating August 2023 wildfires, Maui welcomed 235,370 visitors. That's up 11.3% from March of 2024, which sounds good until you realize that we're still 13.4% below pre-pandemic numbers, the numbers of 2019, and the lingering effects of messaging that says stay away from Maui and let us heal. We need our visitors. And visitor spending? That's complicated. It's up. Visitors spent $536 million this March. That's a 21% increase over March of 2019. But let's be clear. When you think about spending increase, you also have to remember that there was a little bit of inflation in the last 6 years. Okay, a lot of inflation. And those big numbers also reflect higher prices rather than just serving purely as a sign of a robust recovery. The average daily visitor count was 59,089. Again, better than last year, but still down 14.8% from 2019. That's a lot of unbooked rooms, empty tables, and untapped income for locals. Bottom line, even though the numbers are creeping up year over year, Maui still has a long road ahead. We're still way below the visitor levels that we saw, in the before times. And that gap means thousands of people who aren't here spending money, supporting jobs, and helping fuel our recovery. For the communities and the businesses still picking up the pieces after the fires, and will be for some years to come, that missing wave of visitors is stretching the timeline for real economic healing way longer than it needs to be. So yeah, tourism's still down, Lahaina's still in rebuild mode, and the wait and see game from the decision makers? Well, let's get real. Indecision sometimes is a decision. And while all of that ripples through the real estate market, sometimes the impact is exactly what you would expect. And other times, not exactly. They say that numbers don't lie, whoever they are. And if they are right, then on the surface, last month's sales numbers might want to make you pop a bottle and celebrate. Condo sales were up, home sales were way up, and even land, that stuff that's just sitting there minding its own business, decided to join the party. But before we cue the hula dancers, a note of caution. 1 month of good news does not a trend make. So put on your snorkel and let's dive into the numbers. Let's talk condos. Yep, condo sales are up, but before anyone breaks out the champagne, let's take a closer look. We sold 4 more condos in April than in March. That's a 7% increase. But when you're starting from just 60 sales, 4 extra closings can make the percentages look more exciting than they really are. So while increased sales might be cause for celebration in some quarters, that's just another way of saying that none of the other data points look very good. That said, a win's a win, right? Well, maybe. Because while sales ticked up, so did inventory. We saw a 7% increase there too, which now gives us over 14 months of condo inventory just sitting on the market. That's a lot of supply, especially when demand is starting to look a little sleepy. Now let's look at pending sales. That's the number of condos under contract. That dropped by 14.5% down to just 89 condos. That matters because pending sales are tomorrow's closed deals. So if we have only got 89 in the pipeline, that is a flashing yellow light that next month's closed sales will likely trend back down. And if you're a seller hoping for good news on prices, well, sorry. The median selling price for a condo dropped 11.5%, landing at $727. That's the lowest median we've seen since January of 2023, when we were still just coming out of the pandemic. The average selling price also took a nosedive, down nearly $280,000, or 18.5% from the month before. But that dip has less to do with the trend and more to do with that wild roller coaster ride that condo prices have been on for the last 6 months. 1 month, it drops to $940,000. Then it shoots back up to $1.5 million. And now the average is coasting back down towards something that feels a little more realistic. So yeah, sellers might be crying in their Mai Tais right now. But if you're a buyer and you've got your financing lined up and your timing right, this market could be a great opportunity. The ride might be a little bumpy, but the ticket price is looking better month by month. Now, let's move on to home sales where the story is a little sunnier. Sales of single-family homes jumped over 40% in April. That's right, we went from 49 homes sold in March to 69 in April. And, fun fact, the last time we hit that exact number was April of 2024. So either we're in a time loop or the market's trying to tell us something. Now, before we get too excited, let's zoom out. Over the past 6 months, we've seen home inventory steadily creeping up, but in April, flat. We had 427 homes on the market in March and 429 in April, so basically that's a rounding error. That pause in rising inventory might suggest the market's finding some balance, or just taking a breather. Pending home sales dipped about 7% down to 121. Not great, but not alarming either, especially when you consider that back in January, we had only 92 homes under contract. 121, that's pretty solid. As for median selling prices, there was actually good news, at least for sellers. The median selling price rose 6.5%, landing at $1,380,000. That's the second highest median we've seen in the last 6 months. For context, median sales prices have been pretty stable in that $1.3 to $1.4 million range, except for January, when things briefly dipped below $1.2 million. Now, the average selling price did take a hit, falling back to $1.85 million after spiking above $2.5 million in March. So what does that big price dip mean? Not to worry. It just means that Maui's luxury winter buying season has come to an end. But if you're in the market for a high-end home, don't worry. There's still plenty of luxury inventory sitting out there just waiting for the right buyer with the right checkbook and maybe a thing for ocean views and infinity pools. So overall, the single-family home market is looking solid, balanced, and, dare I say, reasonably healthy. Not too hot, not too cold, just Maui. So that's the latest from Maui, where the recovery continues, the real estate market keeps us on our toes, and change seems to be the only constant. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, an investor, or just someone who likes keeping a close eye on what's happening here and seeing pretty pictures of Maui real estate, I hope this report helped you make a little more sense of the moment we're in. So if you've got thoughts or just want to talk story, drop a comment below or send me an email, lee@alohapots.com. I read and respond to everyone. And if you found this helpful, give it a like, share it with someone who cares about Maui, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. From the most beautiful island on the planet, I'm Lahaina Lee, saying aloha. Tony Brown produced this podcast. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not intended as a recommendation to invest in real estate or any other financial asset. We are not financial planners, certified public accountants, or attorneys. You should consult with a qualified professional before making any financial, legal, or investment decisions. All investments carry risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results.